Welcome to the Purple Positivity Podcast for March the 12th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my kitchen/dining room table in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Hooray! So, yesterday was a very important day in my life, and, it was a very important anniversary, I should say. Bittersweet, but very important. Sometimes the most important things are bittersweet. So, I thought I would share with y'all about that day. 14 years ago, on March 11th, 2004, first of all, that was obviously the most important thing to mention about that date. That was the date that Benji and Joel Madden of Good Charlotte turned 25. So that's important, right? But it was also the day of my second tumor removal surgery. Now, I think I briefly mentioned this in my show back in January called Blessed with Blindishness. But when I was 17 in late 2003, early 2004, I found out that I had lost a significant amount of vision due to a tumor that was pressing up against my brainstem, causing optic nerve inflammation and a bunch of other problems. It took 2 surgeries to get it out completely. And the first surgery took place on February 11th. And the worst that happened with that was that I lost the hearing in my left ear. That was it. I lost the hearing in my left ear, which, I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, that was nothing. But I have hindsight bias, because compared to what happened after the surgery on March the 11th, that was peanuts. Learning how to walk again when you're 17 years old and having to use like an old lady's walker, and you're like, no, this is not punk rock at all, because, you know, you're 17 and you think you're like a little punk rock queen sort of thing. You know, that's peanuts compared to what happened after the March surgery. But March the 11th, we went into the hospital. I think we had to be in the, surgery ward, waiting room, check-in place. I don't know what to call that. I think at like 7 in the morning. So because I was staying with my mom and my stepdad in their home, which was at that time in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, and traffic in Atlanta is traffic, and yeah, anyone from Atlanta will go, yeah, I know what you mean. Anyone not from Atlanta will go, I think I get it. Anyways, so we left the house, I think at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. We left like early. And my stepdad, being the kind of person that he is, knew that I was scared and that I wanted to feel good. And so we get into his, at the time he drove a Dodge Durango SUV. We called it the Kitty Kitty. And so we get into the, please don't ask why. We get into the Kitty Kitty, and we start off, and he puts in a CD, because CDs were still a thing back then. They're still a thing now, just nobody uses them. For The Young and the Hopeless by Good Charlotte, knowing full well that was my favorite band, that was my favorite album, and he wanted to calm me down and to make me feel good. And I don't think that I ever said this out loud. But that meant the world to me at that time. And I mean, my stepdad and I, we have our issues, but he is not a horrible human being. He makes some horrible decisions and he says some horrible things from time to time, but who doesn't? But in that moment, that was everything to me. So he put the CD in and we drove off. And if you know anything about that album, there's a song on there called The Day That I Die. Funnily enough, we pull up to the hospital as that song is playing. So that sucked. Like that. I mean, the funny thing about it is at that time, all I thought was, oh my gosh, it's on the day that I die. I can't get out of the car now, but I have to get out of the car. But all I could think was, is the day that I die, and that was the omen, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die on the operating table today, because that was, this was the tricky surgery. This was where you were going to get all the nerves unwrapped from this. I say I was going to be unconscious the whole time. They were going to get all the nerves off of this tumor, and they were going to get, and it was going to be the most dangerous part of the whole procedure. And I didn't want to get out of the car while The Day That I Die was playing in the background, but I had to. And now in hindsight, I was listening to that album at work the other day, and I heard that song, and in reality, what that song is about is it's about appreciating the moment and letting go of the past. And I think had I been in a different mental state and had I not been 17 years old and young and inexperienced and all that, I might have understood that was actually probably the most perfect song to be playing as I'm leaving the car to go face essentially death. So, we get in, my parents fill out the paperwork, and they call me back into, like, pre-surgery, and they gave me what they called goofy juice, which was supposed to make me kind of go, and, like, relax before they put me under anesthetic. The last time they had done that, like, I drank it, and then I, like, passed out, and so I don't remember actually going under anesthetic. Not the case that time around, the second time around. But in any event, we go back to pre-surgery, and I am just sobbing because suddenly I'm realizing I don't want to die because I have reasons to live. I have things that I want to happen in my life, things that I want to experience. And I didn't want that to be the end of my story. And I started sobbing. And my mom, she took me in her arms and she rocked me back and forth and she was humming. And I was so upset and sad that I didn't notice at first what she was humming. Turns out what she was humming was this song by Good Charlotte called My Bloody Valentine. And if you've heard that song, you know that is about somebody committing murder. And once I realized this, like, I pulled back and I'm like, what the hell? 14 years later, I look back on that and I realize that my mom was doing probably two things at the same time. I think first and foremost, she was trying to make a joke because she didn't know how to face this reality. I think she was trying to cover up how scared she was, because I can't imagine that she wasn't scared, and I'm trying really hard not to cry. But I think also she was trying to get me to laugh, because the one thing that my mom always taught me, if my mom taught me nothing else in this lifetime, it is this. She taught me that as long as you can laugh at something, you can overcome it. And so she was trying to get me to laugh in the face of death. I think she was trying to laugh in the face of death. She was trying to get me to do the same thing. Because if we could laugh at it, we could overcome it. And at that time, I'm 17 years old. So I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? And, I'd throw a little fit. And one of the surgeons, I had two surgeons that did the operation. One of the surgeons came in to check on me and sort of say, hey, how are things going? And this was also around about the time that I first read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Actually, my mom was reading it to me. But same difference, really. And there's a line in the first book, and I said it to the doctor at this time. I said, Doctor, you can't let me die because I have a headache and I can't go to heaven with a headache because I'll be all cross and I won't be able to enjoy it. And he kind of laughed, and and it was a really difficult situation. So I guess my mom accomplished her goal because we laughed at it. And I survived the surgery, obviously. And, but the fallout from that surgery was the left side of my face got paralyzed. And if you follow me on Instagram, it's still paralyzed. And if you know me, I'm still more than a little insecure about it. I'm starting to get a little bit over it because reasons. Reasons that make me kind of invert the numbers in my age. But, yeah. Anyways. I'm giggling and I feel stupid, but yeah, so I had the facial paralysis. My left vocal cord got paralyzed. Again, you can't notice it now because actually 2 weeks after this surgery, I had another surgery, not necessarily to fix it. I don't think it actually fixed it per se, but it made life easier for a good long time because I've never had to have surgery on my vocal cords since then. As of this recording, at least. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. But, yeah. So my left vocal cord got paralyzed. I had some nerve damage to the nerves that control my swallowing. And so combine that with the vocal cord paralysis, and I had a really hard time eating. I still do. Like, I have to have a beverage with every meal just to kind of make sure that I don't choke on my food. So, but the, excuse me. The reason that I feel really bittersweet about this is, because I was 17 years old. And a 17-year-old girl, if you've ever been one, I'm sorry. If you've never been one,